everyone, welcome back to the poker vlog. We are back at Resorts World. It is Tuesday, July 18th. It's about 6 o'clock in the evening. I'm on the list for 1-3 No Limit Hold'em. Filming the intro inside today. Hopefully we'll get a seat soon, and I will see you at the tables. It doesn't take us too long to get involved. This is about the fourth hand dealt in. We are playing short-handed right now. Under the Gun decides to go ahead and raise this up to $10. We get a caller on the button. And I've got ace-queen offsuit, which is a pretty strong hand considering we're only playing five-handed. So I raise this up to $35. I want to be a little bit more aggressive out of position here. The Under the Gun player decides to flick in the call, and the button decides to go ahead and put in the call here as well. So we're going to go multi-way in a 3-bet pot, and we see a flop that doesn't really help us. We see 7-7-5 with 2 hearts. We do hold the ace of hearts, so we block the nut flush draw. I, however, can still represent all the strong hands like overpairs, pocket aces, pocket kings, pocket queens, pocket jacks, pocket tens. So I make it $45 to go here on this flop, continuing to represent strength. And the Under the Gun player doesn't think too long before calling, and the button gets out of the way. So we're heads up on a turn of the 6 of hearts, completing the front door flush. Goes check, check, and we see the King of Hearts on the river giving us the nut flush. Now I think I can go from bluffing to going to value betting here. So I carve out a bet here of $80, basically putting the Under the Gun player all in. I think he's going to call here with a lot of Queen X of heart hands, a lot of Jack X of heart hands, 10X of heart hands. You get the idea. So when he flicks in the call, I think we're pretty good here. He turns over pocket kings for a rivered full house. In this next hand, we've got 8-7 of spades in the big blind and a limper in the cutoff. When the small blind decides to get out of the way, I think raising here is the best play. I think the cutoff is going to have a lot of weak pocket pairs like deuces, threes, etc. in their range when they limp here. So I make it 18 to go. Cutoff doesn't think too long before deciding 18 is a fair price. So we go to a flop of Queen 6-4. I'm going to keep betting here and representing my strong hands like King Queen, Queen Jack that I can have in my range. So I make it $20, and the cutoff decides to put in the $20 call. And we see the King of Spades on the turn, giving us more equity. I think the right play here is to continue betting and showing strength. So I decide to put in a $35 bet here on this turn. The cutoff pretty quickly just lets his hand go. Doesn't think too long here at all before releasing. I think the bet here on the turn is the right play. It's going to be hard for the cutoff to continue with hands like pocket sevens, pocket eights, pocket nines, etc. So I like my bet here on the turn. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Should we be betting? Should we be checking here? Look forward to hearing your feedback.
I'm going to get the beef clay pot. It's like beef and chicken fried rice.
All right, in this next hand, we've got Big Slick in the big blind, and we are going to be faced with a whole group of limpers. The Under the Gun player decides to put in the $3. Middle position player decides to put in the $3 call. This brings in the cutoff, who puts in the $3 and gets the small blind to put in the additional $2 as well. We are not going to be checking our option here. I'm going to be raising this up, and I settle on a size of $18. This gets the Under the Gun player and the middle position player to fold pretty quickly, but it brings along the cutoff, which brings along the small blind as well. So we're going to be going 3 ways here to a flop. We are kind of stuck in the middle between the cutoff and the small blind. Flop is pretty good for our exact hand, though. We see ace 7-5 rainbow. So when the small blind checks it over to us, We're going to be betting here. The question is just how large do we want to go? I settle on $25, and I think this is just too small. We should be going much larger here on this flop. Cutoff folds, small blind calls, and we see the 6 of hearts on the turn, bringing in the back door flush draw and completing some of the straights. Goes check, check. King of diamonds on the river, giving us top 2. When the small blind bets $30, we snap call, thinking we're probably good here, a good chunk of the time, but they turn over 8-9 off suit, turn the gut shot straight, so we end up losing there. I think if we had bet larger on the flop, maybe $35, we would have pushed this player out of the pot. All right, so we've got Big Slick again. This time we are in the small blind. Worst position at the table. We see a limper with the cutoff, and this brings the button along as well, puts in the limp. I go ahead and raise this up to $17, trying to isolate the cutoff player here and get the button out of the way. The cutoff does think for a bit here before deciding to go ahead and put in the additional money to see the flop, and the button does get out of the way. So we are going to go heads up here to a flop, which comes down pretty good for us. We see 5, ace, 5. I'm going to check here because I feel like I need to include some strong hands in my checking range. The button immediately shoots out a $10 bet, and I feel like this is a great candidate to be check raising, so I fire out a $35 raise here, putting some pressure on ace X holdings that the cutoff can have in their range. Hands like ace 10, ace jack, ace 9, you get the idea. And the button thinks for a while here and ultimately decides to let their hand go. So we end up taking down this smaller pot. Let me know what you think about the check raise play there. Should I be including this as a check raising hand in my range, or should I look to check call here? Should I just bet here on the flop? What's the best play here in your opinion? Leave it down in the comments below. All right, in this next one, we've got 8, 7 of diamonds. We are in early position here, but it is short-handed. We've got a couple players who are up and walking, so I decide to go ahead and fire out here for $12 pre-flop. I think it's fine considering that we're short-handed to be raising some of these suited connectors in early position. We end up getting just one caller here. The big blind decides to go ahead and stick in the additional $9 to see a flop. So we are going to end up going heads up here to a flop that comes down pretty good for our exact hand, all things considered. We see king 6-3 with 2 diamonds. Player quickly checks it over to us. We go ahead and fire out here for 15. They quickly call, and we see the 7 of hearts on the turn, giving us a pair. When they check, I decide to check back here. We've got some showdown value now, so I don't think we have to keep betting here on the turn. The jack of hearts peels off on the river, and now this player takes quite a while before deciding to go ahead and check it over to us again. I just exercise my showdown value here and show my 7. He quickly slams down 10-9 of diamonds, saying, oh, that's where my diamonds were at, as if they are his diamonds. But as played, we end up taking down this small pot here with a pair of 7s. Had the player bet there on the river, I think we would have been forced to call, just depending on the size of the bet. All right, we've got the best starting hand in No Limit Texas Hold'em, pocket aces in the cutoff. Better yet, we see a raise from under the gun to $10. Given that they are under the gun, I think they're going to have a very strong raising range here. I make it $40 to go, sizing up a little bit. Player under the gun asks for a quick count. Doesn't think too long here before electing to put in the additional $30. So we're going to go heads up here to a flop, which comes down 5, queen, 10 with 2 clubs. Player checks it over to us. I'm going to be c-betting this for value. I want to get all of his Queen X hands, all of his draws to go ahead and call it off. I put in a bet here of $55. Player doesn't think too long here before electing to check raise us to 120. They don't have too much left behind. I think the best play here is just to go all in, so that's what I do. And they pretty much snap call. We see the 6 of clubs and the 9 of hearts on the river. Not the best run out for us. Turns out it doesn't matter anyway. They turn over pocket queens and show us that they flopped top set here on this board. So we were pretty much drawing dead to an ace. Not the best turnout for us here, but I don't think there's much else we could be doing here on this flop, especially considering that he's only got 100 big blinds to start the hand. I don't think we can be folding here on this flop. Let me know what you think about that in the comments. Is there any chance we can get away from it here? I think it's just a cooler, but I'm curious to hear what other people think about this particular hand. If you like pots like this, please do give me a like, give me a subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss future episodes. All right, this time we have the second best starting hand in No Limit Texas Hold'em, Pocket Kings, the Cowboys. We are under the gun here, out of position, so I'm going to raise this up, make it $10 to go. And we are still playing a little short-handed here, so it ends up folding around to the big blind, who decides $7 more is a fair price to see a flop. So they put in the call, and we go heads up to a flop of queen 4-6 with 2 clubs. Now the big blind decides to take kind of an odd line here, and they donk bet into us. I have a decision here as to whether or not I want to raise or call. Folding is out of the question. I decide to put in a raise here of $45. $30 more to the big blind to see a turn card. The big blind tanks for quite a while here on this raise. I'm hoping that we're going to get calls from any flush draws that they donk bet with, any Queen X type hands that they donk bet with, but unfortunately they elect to go ahead and fold here on the flop. We end up taking down this small pot here with our pocket kings. I think we could be calling some percentage of the time on the flop, but as played, we do win this hand. This is the last hand of the session. We've got pocket jacks in middle position. We're on a bit of tilt after losing that big pot with our pocket aces. I go ahead and raise this up to $10. It ends up folding around to the big blind, who is the same player that we lost that big pot to. He decides to put in the additional $7 here to see a flop. So we're going to go heads up here, and the flop comes down ace 6-4 with 2 hearts. Now the big blind decides to donk into us for $10. I think we can easily call here. He could be doing this with flush draws as well as some pocket pairs like 8s or 9s. We see the 5 of diamonds on the turn, and he decides to keep betting here for $20. I call here for the same reasons that I called on the flop, and we see the 4 of spades on the river. Now the player bets out for $20 again, giving us an insane price. But I think it's just always a weak ace at this point. I think if he were betting a missed bluff here on this river, he would have went larger. So I think we could potentially get away from it on the river here, but as played, we end up losing this pot, and we call it a night. They always have it. That couldn't have gone much worse. It is about 10:20 in the PM. We're back home. We played for about 3 hours, and we ran into a very cold deck, to say the least. 2 pairs don't hold up. Pocket pairs don't hold up. Not flopping any sets, not getting any flushes, not hitting strong hands. Bluffs don't work. Just nothing was going our way tonight. So We were in the game for $860. We were out for $273. That's a loss of $580-ish. I'll put the totals up here somewhere. I think that's the biggest loss on the vlog to date. Not that that's anything to be proud of, but I think that's the biggest losing session we've had on the vlog so far. Yeah, just nothing going our way today. I feel like on the pocket aces hand, we could get away from it on the flop. I don't know. I'm interested to hear what other people think. Leave it in the comments below. Is there any way we fold there on the flop? It just seems like players are so often just going to call pre-flop with pocket pairs like tens and jacks and queens and just try to flop a set. And when he raises on that flop, I don't know. I mean, in my mind at the time, I'm thinking he could have flush draws in his range, but honestly, I don't think he does. I don't think he raises there. I think he just calls with flush draws. I think he only raises there for protection and wants to get it in with sets. So maybe it's nitty, super nitty to fold on that flop, but I just feel like, thinking back in my poker history, every time players make a raise like that after a 3-bet pot, it's like always a set. Always a set. Like they never have king queen there. They never have ace queen there. They never have like queen jack there. It's just always a set. In a 3-bet pot, post flop, and they raise the aggressor. It feels like in my mind, and I could be my own bias could be kicking in, that it's just I always run into sets in that type of a spot. So, and anyway, let me know what you think in the comments, and I will get back to you. And as far as some of the other hands go, I mean, the ace king hand where we hit 2-pair on the river, I think that's a pretty clear call. It just sucks that the guy had 8-9 offsuit and he called $17 with it out of position pre-flop. I didn't think he would really have that in his range too often. I thought he more than likely would have a lot of worse 2-pair hands in his range. So what are you going to do there? They always have it. And then the pocket jacks hand, that's just tilt. I mean, that just goes to show how much tilt can mess with your mental state at the table. I shouldn't be punting off money there. I feel like he's just got an ace 100% of the time. So, yeah, not a great session, not a great result. And hopefully we could turn it around in the next episode. If you like the vlog, please do hit that like button. Please hit it hard. Smash that like button. Help me feel better about my losing session. Subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you don't miss future episodes. Thank you all so much for coming along on my poker journey and watching and listening to me rant about losing sessions like I am right now. I really appreciate you guys taking the time to support the channel and to support me as I go through this poker journey. There's going to be a lot of ups and downs along the way, but hopefully we're going to come out on top, and I'm looking forward to having you all come along with me. So stay tuned for future episodes, and I'll see you next time.